unpopular opinion. WWE has been pretty good this year. Pretty good. I mean, sure, Backlash was a total fart and Mojo Rawley still exists, but the Royal Rumble was awesome, NXT remains the standard bearer of sports entertainment excellence, the Women's Revolution is on fire, and the list goes on. WrestleMania itself was a show of two halves, but since then, WWE have kind of been all over the place. Things aren't terrible, but in many cases it's almost like the writing team put their brains in a blender after New Orleans, resulting in some wildly inconsistent television and boatloads of bad ideas. I'm Andy for What Culture Wrestling, and here are 10 totally stupid things WWE have already done since WrestleMania 34. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to stay notified. Ding, ding, done. Number 10. The life and death of Roman Reigns. The big dog is now a professional choke artist. After over 3 years of billed as the guy, WWE all but buried him at WrestleMania and compounded this at the Greatest Royal Rumble when he lost to Brock Lesnar again. Audiences pick and choose their favourites based on all sorts of criteria, but they'll ultimately only ever back a winner. Reigns is now a gigantic loser. The inexcusable mismanagement of Roman is perhaps the most damning indictment of the clunky star-making structure that WWE has become. For a performer entering his prime, this must be hugely dispiriting. When a long-term injury layoff would probably be the best thing for your career, as it would be for Reigns, your time at the top is up. Number 9. Beast Mode. Somebody else that should probably f*** off for a bit, but for entirely different reasons, Brock Lesnar has been the lone beneficiary of the latest assault on the piss-weak Roman Empire. Now scoring a cool 500 grand per match, Brock has never earned more as a WWE superstar, yet never deserved less. His 2 wins over Reigns have left the big dog digging for the bones of a successful singles run, while Lesnar himself is unbelievably beatable against Raw's rank and file. Who could possibly take a run at him next? More specifically, why, in kayfabe, would they even deem it worth the hassle? Number 8. Doing nothing with Jeff Jarrett. With Goldberg as the headliner, Hillbilly Jim as the head scratcher, and Ivory the token gesture, this year's Hall of Fame wheeled out all the tropes, but Jeff Jarrett's announcement came with potentially seismic ramifications. Double J's exit from WWE in 1999 was so acrimonious that he literally needed to create a new place of work, TNA, when his previous employer, WCW, went out of business. His persistence was always admirable, but seemed by necessity. There was nothing left for him in WWE, so he simply had to find it elsewhere. A coming together, even for something as relatively inconsequential as a Hall of Fame induction, shook the industry, yet WWE did precisely nothing with it. Great. Number 7. The Greatest Royal Rumble. As fun as some parts of the show were, this event was no more than a glorified house show and a giant promotional puff piece. The card offered more to analyse before and after the event rather than during it. It was surrounded by outrage, but the company had the chance to shift the narrative with a great pro wrestling event. Sadly, they failed. It was the ultimate distraction piece, with only Titus O'Neil's slip and the enormous 50-man main event steering the conversation away from the various ethical dilemmas that the show presented. Number 6. Transparency. Speaking of throwing up, WWE's own coping mechanism when it came to the Greatest Royal Rumble was sickening, saccharine, and f***ing rubbish. 5 days before the woman-free event, the company dedicated the entire main event slot on Raw to the brand's female cast. The 10-woman tag was both the best and worst of times. Ronda Rousey again looked like a total badass, but a laboured multi-person tag built around a botched Nia Jax high spot wasn't necessarily the most appealing way to get there. Worse still was that it even happened at all. Few fans were legitimately blind to the obvious politics in play. It was supposed to be a make good for the woman missing out in Saudi Arabia, which was, let's be honest, all about Vince McMahon chasing dollars. Number 5. An unbalanced superstar shakeup. The 2018 edition of WWE's mini-draft broke from tradition, with WWE shockingly raiding Raw for the good of SmackDown. Great news for fans of the Blue brand, as Tuesday nights now look more stacked than ever, but WWE's apparent flagship show was left overstocked with dead wood. Jinder Mahal returned from his catastrophic SmackDown run, Baron Corbin kicked off another doomed-to-fail bully run, and to top it all off, in came Dolph Ziggler, who the company haven't done anything interesting with in several years. SmackDown might become great again, but Raw's a wasteland. Number 4. Cuptide. Shinsuke Nakamura's excellent heel turn hasn't yet yielded the great match his main roster run sorely lacks, but his target of shock hasn't half made his job easier. That being said, why on earth hasn't AJ Styles invested in some kind of testicle protector yet? The whole feud has revolved around Styles getting punched where it hurts, yet the daft sod still hasn't bought himself a cup, which almost vindicates Nakamura's targeted assault. It's a huge logical plot hole. The payoff here is either AJ finally guarding his own knacks to come out on top, or Shinsuke luring it away to finally deliver a great clash and his first WWE title, but we're still waiting. Number 3. Running it into the ground. At the greatest Royal Rumble, Titus O'Neil fell on his fucking face. It didn't originally appear on camera, but the announcers pissing themselves laughing made it clear that something had happened. Replays confirmed it. Replays upon replays upon replays. Opportunities for the viewing audience not only to get a taste of O'Neil's humiliation, but feast upon it, showing that WWE have no respect for their coldest performers. Titus slipped over again on Raw because of course he did. Tripping under the ring might well get him over inside of it, but that alone speaks to internal mechanisms more fragile than O'Neil's own wobbly legs. Number 2. Braun No Man. Former tag team champion and current 10-year-old referee's son Nicholas will forever be the living, breathing stick to beat WWE with should Braun Strowman's push ever collapse. Still, placing the blame on a WrestleMania gag loses sight of the bigger issue. The Big Joke's punchline was too small, because Braun's direction following this weird move was forming a makeshift tag team with the pointless Bobby Lashley. Strowman's push has amounted to bugger all since the show of shows. He'll be in Money in the Bank, but if WWE don't capitalise on his amazing popularity soon, the monster among men won't have the fans' hearts forever. The sooner he's slotted back into something meaningful, the better. And number 1, the killer calendar. WrestleMania, the greatest Royal Rumble, the Superstar Shakeup and Backlash all happened within a 30-day window. Switching to a lighter pay-per-view calendar was supposed to make things easier, but alas, WWE has been bloody relentless lately. Doing all these huge things at once was always likely to cause a jam, but panic stirring by Vince McMahon's decree has left countless wrestlers lost, stuck in storyline limbo with no clear direction or obvious paths out. WWE's refusal to let things breathe is exhausting. These events are so crammed together that there's no time for meaningful fallout, and we can only hope things improve now that the pay-per-view calendar is finally tapering off.
Wasn't that something? Don't forget to like, share and subscribe below, and also the people who made this lovely video, they're appearing right here. But if you're thinking to yourself, I want to see more content, Jules, then why not look above my head, as there probably is some. I don't know. I can't see it. Until next time.